Hello, everybody. I'm Mehdi Kabir, a postdoctoral research associate at the Center for Advanced Manufacturing in Space Technology and Applied Research at the University of District of Columbia. For today, I'm going to present an brief view of some safety guidelines and measures when working with 3D metal printer as well as for chemical lab generally. This safety document and presentation consists mainly of four sections. First section is characterization of potential hazards. Second section is work activities. The next section is administrative controls. And finally, personal protective equipment or PPE you need to follow and wear to ensure your safety. Regarding the first section, characterization of potential hazard. Generally, the potential hazards you might be exposed to when dealing with 3D metal printers can consist mainly of first, breathing and skin contact with metals, then fire and explosion, and finally electric shock caused by high-powered lasers. Regarding printing considerations, so printing location is matter and uh, all the requirements regarding printing location that is already met when the machine was installed, and then grounding and bonding straps used when removing the filters. Already grounding and bonding straps are installed. And finally, written procedures on disposal of metal powders, operation, and maintenance of the machine. The work environment best practices consist mainly of first appropriate fire suppression system and then a negatively pressured area with a dedicated ventilation system. So this requirement is already met and fulfilled for the 3D printing room. The second section is work activities you usually involved with when working with 3D metal printers. The work activities, as you can see, can be categorized into four sections. The first stage is pre-printing, second stage is printing stage, and then next post-printing stage, and finally maintenance and cleaning. The work activities related to pre-printing stage consists mainly of loading powders manually into the machine, sieving powder outside of the machine, enclosed powder loading, enclosed powder sieving, and then receiving and storing powder container. Work activities related to printing stage consists mainly of you need to be aware of the other work activities nearby, and then monitoring printing progress, which is performed in an enclosed chamber. So that's the reason printing stage usually expose the minimum level of risk and potential hazards compared to the other stages like pre-printing, post-printing, as well as maintenance and cleaning stage. The next stage is post-printing. The work activities involved with consist of removing powder or printed object from printer, moving powder or printed object around work area, and then post-processing cleaning and finishing objects inside the containment system. This also includes the other post-processing activities like removal of support structure or heat treatment. And finally, enclose powder sieving and powder removal. Regarding the work activities for maintenance and cleaning, they mainly include performing preventive maintenance on printer, removing or installing high efficiency particulate air filters, and then cleaning printer equipment and tools, and finally housekeeping. So the third section is administrative controls. So these administrative controls and safety guidelines is applied to all printing stages, including pre-printing stage, printing stage, post-printing stage, and maintenance and cleaning. You need to strictly follow these procedure and these safety guidelines. First, don't consume foods or drinks in work area. Then you need to restrict access to essential personnel and workers. Then properly handle filters during replacement, removal, and disposal. Check and replace also the seals as needed. Consider the reactivity of your base material when selecting cleaning materials, equipment, and methods. The next measure, so usually for mission operation, you need at least 2 persons. So consider a basic training for your co-worker to inform them of potential hazards, and so learn them how to take proper actions to protect themselves. Then clean work area frequently, including in between the prints, at least once a day. And then you need to use wet cleaning methods rather than dry sweep or compressed air. Actually, dry sweep or compressed air are not preferred technique. Usually the safest technique is to use wet cleaning methods. And finally, handle and disposal of all waste materials, including cleaning materials as well as your gloves, in compliance with the established regulations and procedures. So in the lab, based on the 3D metal printer instructions. So the last section for this safety document is PPE or personal protective equipment. For all the stages of printing, including pre-printing, printing, post-printing, and cleaning and maintenance. So this procedure for PPE needs to be followed. First, wear PPE that is appropriate for activities around you. For example, powder change out on the machine next to workstation may require you to wear the same level of PPE. Then, while potential exposures are typically lowest during the printing stage, work surfaces might still be contaminated with metal powders. That's another reason addressing that you need to wear PPE in all the stages of printing. If printing is interrupted, use the level of PPE needed when the machine is open. And then follow proper PPE replacement practices in the room, and don't wear PPE outside of work areas because you can distribute contaminations to the other people and the other area. You also need to wear chemical resistant gloves as well as lab coat, a proper lab coat. Then you need to use and wear safety glasses, face shields, and face masks in all the stages of printing, including pre-printing, printing stage, post-printing stage. And then in case the enduring controls equipment fail to work properly, you need to use respiratory protection equipment, which is not the case right now. And finally, if anything else happen, first you need to call risk management director or CIS lab manager, that is Mr. Pablo Sanchez, at 202-274-6419. Thank you so much for your patience and attention.